Hi, this is Nanette Hosenfeld with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Saturday, July 4th, 2020. Looking at fire potential impacts over the next few days. Today, we will see more lightning. It'll be much more isolated than the lightning we saw yesterday, and mainly across eastern Utah. We will also see some wind gusts combined with low relative humidity, and that will be across portions of western Nevada and central Idaho. Then also in Idaho, we'll see a mix of wet and dry lightning. On Sunday, there are no significant impacts on the map, but that changes moving into Monday, as an approaching cold front will bring another round of gusty winds combined with low relative humidity. These winds are particularly concerning, given the fact that they are following a couple of days of dry lightning and a holiday with fireworks. So definitely something to keep your eye on for Monday. Over the past 24 hours, we did have a fair amount of storms across the Great Basin, across the central and southern part of the Great Basin. There were some storms that brought heavy precipitation, but there were also some storms with pretty dry lightning without too much precipitation. And the map on the right shows the concentration of lightning mainly across the higher terrain of central and southern Utah and also across portions of Idaho. If we look at fire activity, you can see that there was an uptick in the new fires reported yesterday, and a lot of those are in the areas where we saw lightning. This slide is showing how the precipitation over the past 1 and 2 weeks compares to normal. The image on the left is the past 7 days, and it stands out pretty clearly how wet it's been across the north. Really abnormally wet across the northern part of the Great Basin over the past 7 days. That trend holds true looking back at the 14-day period too. So it really has been abnormally wet across the north, but in contrast, it's been really dry across the southern part of the Great Basin. That's pretty easy to see here on our ERC map, where the ERCs across the north are generally at or below the 50th percentile. And moving south, we quickly move to ERCs that are right around the 80th to 90th percentile. If we look at the ERC trend charts, GB3, which is southwestern Idaho, is well below normal. You can see they've just not been keeping up with what we typically see across the north. And looking further south to the southeast across GB32, ERCs are pretty close to what we'd expect this time of year. However, we're in a pretty unusual weather pattern, and typically this time of year the ERCs would start dropping as the monsoonal moisture comes in. But because of the weather pattern we are in, that monsoonal moisture really isn't looking like it's going to make its way into the area in any real significant way. And so we are expecting these ERCs to remain elevated longer than they typically would. Live fuel moistures show a pretty similar trend to the ERCs, where across the north they're higher, and then moving south we see sagebrush moisture that's below normal. The satellite this morning shows a really large area of low pressure across the western part of the United States, and that's really what will be driving our weather over the next few days. For today, quite a bit of dry air in place across the western, southwestern part of the Great Basin. We are looking at the potential for some gusty winds across the Sierra front. You can see that highlighted on our significant fire potential map. And then there is still some lingering moisture across the southeastern part of the area, and we are just highlighting a small sliver of southeastern Utah for that lightning potential this afternoon. Continuing to look at today, really mainly light winds across the area. The only exception to that is across western Nevada. And we are looking at the potential for some isolated storms this afternoon. Because there is so much dry air in place, there will be strong gusty winds connected to any thunderstorms that develop today. As we move into this Sunday, that dry air really makes its way across the Great Basin, quite dry across the area on Sunday. You can see relative humidities on Sunday afternoon are in the single digits across a large portion of the area. The good news on Sunday is that winds will be mostly light across the area. As we move into Monday, we start to see a low pressure system make its way into the area. That will result in an increase of winds. So we are highlighting those increased winds across portions of Nevada and Utah for Monday. Wind speeds will generally be in the 25 to 35 mile an hour range on Monday, but again, relative humidities will be in the single digits, so very dry on Monday. Over the next 3 days, really not much in the way of precipitation. As we move into Tuesday, that dry air stays in place. We will see winds increase as that weather system moves closer to the Great Basin, and we have a much larger area highlighted on Tuesday for high risk for winds. As we move into Wednesday, still looking at that wind threat. So really, 3 solid days of winds and dry air across the Great Basin. Not quite as large of an area that's being highlighted on Wednesday, but still much of Utah and parts of Nevada. Moving into Thursday, still quite windy. It just doesn't want to let up. We're kind of stuck in this persistent pattern with strong winds and low relative humidities, which is not a great setup after a couple of days of lightning. So moving into Thursday, again, about the southern half of Utah and eastern Nevada, we'll see those increased winds. And then finally moving into Friday, really similar weather pattern. If models continue to show what they are now, we'd expect strong winds to continue through Friday. Looking at the 7-day precipitation accumulation total, there's really not much expected across the Great Basin, and this is notable particularly because we would be seeing the monsoon typically across the southeastern part of the area at this point. So because of this unusual weather pattern we're in, the monsoon doesn't look like it really can set up too strongly this week. Looking further out, this is through July 17th. It looks like the hot and dry weather continues across much of the area. So the monsoon will try to make an appearance, but really all it's going to do is bring brief rounds of showers and thunderstorms to the southeastern part of the area, but nothing really strong will set up as far as the monsoon in the 14-day period. That's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen, and you can also find us on Twitter. Thank you.